Welcome to episode 14 of the Puck Bunker. I'm Rocco Zappia, joined as always by the Loch Ness from Lambeth, Darren Boyce. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, Rocco. How you doing?
Fantastic. Middle of the world juniors, and couldn't be enjoying it more. I've been enjoying it more if Canada was doing better. We'll get to that in a minute.
Blood pressure's high.
Blood pressure was high. Yeah, I let a little bit out yesterday. I went on. I had the chance to get on as a guest following up Craig Button on the podcast that I was co-host on last season, the Sick Podcast Recruits Draftcast by Grant with Grant McKegg. So they were gracious enough to invite me on, and I got to listen to Craig talk some stories and chat with him a little bit. And he was a super nice guy, one of the nicest guys, honestly, that I've had the chance to meet in the hockey world. So that was really cool for me to get to meet Craig Button, honestly, and then to go on with Grant after, and as me and Grant do, got off the rails, and the emotions got the best of us, and it was the topic quickly turned to our disappointment with the state of the Canadian team. So if anyone wants to listen to me spout off on that for the 12th time, please check that out. We had a lot of fun. We recorded it live from Jack Astor's at Lansdowne, who were gracious enough to host us, and they had $5 beers all day long on Sunday, and that they added up quickly. So we had a pretty fun day.
I may have asked a leading question in your guys' conversation there.
You just a little bit, but I appreciated you chiming in anyways, and getting a question from my co-host on my old show was fun. So thanks for doing that. But yeah, check that out. That we had a lot of fun filming that, and I think it turned out well. Me and Grant usually have pretty passionate discussions when we do get going. So that was a lot of fun. Got to see the Czechs and Slovaks play yesterday, which was great. A rivalry game is always fun. Any two countries, Sweden, Finland, Czech, Slovaks, Canada, USA, like there's something added to those games. You can see it in the players, you can feel it in the crowd. There's a little more energy. Just they're a ton of fun, and the Czechs got the better of them. I mean, they were the better team pretty much start to finish in that one, and I think they've got a real chance here to make some noise this year in this tournament as we progress into the medal rounds. But that was a ton of fun, and yeah, like I said, went back to Jack Astor's afterwards, and that's when the $5 beers started flowing. For the Canada game, me and Grant had a couple. I had more than a couple, maybe, but yeah, it was a great day.
That's good. That Czech team does look. They have some potential there. They're a big team and they can play, so they won't be an easy out for anybody.
What did you say? They're a what team?
They're big.
Oh, and that makes them hard to play against?
Yeah.
Fucking novel concept, isn't it?
I wasn't really going that route, but fair enough.
Well, you've seen it against Germany too, man. Like they should be running all over Germany, putting up what the Americans did, which is probably a 10 spot on them. Instead, they're losing puck battles, losing corners, like stuff along the boards, like against a big, strong team. Wild.
I think. Well, first of all, I guess we're going to talk. We can talk about the Germany-Canada game, I guess, here now.
Not inspired by that one,
but one. Okay, so I'll start here. Very happy to see that Oliver Bonk is playing the bumper spot now. That's great to see, and lo and behold, he scored from there. So again, it's like I knew this was what was going on a month ago. So like I don't understand why that took so long, but congratulations, they got there. So we're really happy to see that.
He had a pretty funny pretty cheeky post-game quote too, something along the lines of, "Oh, I saw a bunch of people telling me I was no good at running the power play from up top, so I switched to the bumper and got one, so that felt good."
Yeah, well, he's good there. Like I'm not sure he's their best guy there, but I mean, if he's going to play on the power play, that's where he should be.
Well, he scored, so I'll take it.
Yeah, which that was their only legit goal of the game, but
only real goal of the game.
Nonetheless, I think. Well, first of all, we can start. Okay, why don't we start with Carter George? Do you want to talk about him?
Yeah, I'll start off in a good mood, man.
Start with the goal.
Carter George was fantastic, and he shouldn't have had to make as many big saves as he did, but he made them, and he shouldn't have had to make them in such crucial times as he did, but he made them. And that's something that we talked about at length after the second game, that this guy is a legit big game goalie. And now you're seeing today all the stats coming out, all his history with Team Canada, right? And we talked about that. We talked about that quite a bit the other day, and we saw it last night. He shut the door for them when they needed it, and he shut the door when they were playing nervous. And that game got nerve-wracking there in the third period for a little while. And that's when he was at his most calm, and he was at his most effective, and he was at his best. And there is nothing that I want to see from a goalie at any level, any goalie. I don't care about your size, your handedness, your athleticism. If I can pick one thing to see, it's when you're up 1 goal in the third period and you're getting peppered in a game that shouldn't be like that. You can calm down when everyone else around you is panicking, and you can shut the door and hold your team in it. And that's exactly what he did. And it's, thank God we have that guy.
So he's okay. So when we're scouting goaltenders, I mean, one of the things that's kind of hard to read is kind of their mentality or kind of their mental makeup, right? So it's very, again, he's kind of shown for Team Canada in the past, he does have a pretty good mental makeup. I would argue this is even kind of more impressive because these games aren't easy to play in kind of for a goalie. I mean, his team's highly favored, yet, you know, there's a lot of pressure on him to be good. Like a lot of goalies kind of fade under this type of pressure, and they have in the past for Team Canada. So it is, you know, it's definitely, you know, for, you know, I guess the Kings, they drafted him, correct? So I think that they'll be very happy to kind of see that he's, you know, this is the type of mental makeup that he has. It's promising for him going forward too. And I mean, it's been tough because he's been playing at Owen Sound this year, so he hasn't really played in a lot of high stress games. They're just not winning a lot of games. So it's
Well, the Kings make a lot of sense in terms of the team that drafted him. Like, who does that maybe remind you of in LA, where when the moment's the biggest, they're at their best?
yeah. Well, I mean, if you're speaking, if you're speaking of Jonathan Quick, like again,
I'm not saying he's as good as Jonathan
goaltender, but yes,
yeah,
like again,
I'm not saying he's as good as Jonathan Quick, but Jonathan Quick was maybe the best big game goalie of his era, right?
Well, he always played his best in the, you know, the tougher games, right? Like he played his best at the when they needed him most in high pressure situations, goal, stuff like that.
He'd have pedestrian numbers all year long, then all of a sudden he's unbeatable when it actually matters. And I see a lot of that in Carter George.
Throws up a 945 in the playoffs. So yeah. So I mean, he's been really good. I think Canada's going to need him to be very good in every game that he plays. Just because I don't think they're going to score a lot. So there's a lot of pressure on him to maintain that level of play. Now, do I expect him to have a 100 save percentage throughout the entire tournament? No, but I mean, we're 2 games into it and he hasn't let in a goal. So that, I mean, we're doing okay so far.
Yeah, but he's going to get scored on in this tournament. If he doesn't, I mean, geez, I might be the biggest Carter George fan going. Even I'd be shocked about that. But it's going to be his play that holds him. I think they're going to be in for a pretty long night here against the Americans. I think they're going to be on the wrong side of the shot differential. I think they're going to be on the wrong side of the fancy stats. And I think that the biggest advantage that Canada has is in goal.
Well, yeah, I don't even know who the U.S. is going to start in that game, actually, because, I mean, Augustine doesn't look great.
Didn't have a very great game.
No, he's getting picked on a little bit on his glove side too. So I
wonder if a couple of those goals he'd like to have back.
Yeah. So I mean, he's a good goalie. He's just, again, it's maybe he's just not at his most confident. So I wonder if they go with I think it's Slukinski or Slukinski. I think maybe they'll go with him. I don't know. We'll see who they go with, but Canada should have an advantage in net, at least right now, with, you know, the form that Carter George is in, and they're going to need it. So anyway, we go on to talk about Canada's defense next against Germany, or even in this tournament so far. A couple noteworthy things, you know, again, we have seen some of the D are getting, you know, maybe getting some criticism. They haven't given up an even strength goal in this tournament yet. So I mean,
we're worried about their ability to defend.
Yeah.
I think that was not the question about this team, because they picked a bunch of defensive players, so they should defend well, and they are.
And they are. And they
They
are.
are. Yes, they are, but they have to.
Yeah.
So now we're in a situation where you have objectively either the first or second most talented pool of players to choose from, and you've pigeonholed yourself into playing like the fucking 94, 95 New Jersey Devils, because you can't fucking put the puck in the back of the net, and one of your only guys that can is playing 12 minutes and 7 seconds.
Yeah. Well, again, those Devils teams, that Devils team won a cup. So I
They
mean,
won,
maybe,
right?
yeah.
And
So
everything's forgiven. Everything's forgiven if they win, right? But
I mean,
that's the way they're going to have to win now. It's their
yeah,
only way.
like,
It's their only way to win.
yeah. You can. I mean, you can at least see, some of the logic. I mean, they are, again. I will say,
And they hit a pile of posts yesterday too.
yeah, and I mean, they've given up some chances, but I mean, for the most part, they've kept the shots at bay. Especially 5-on-5. So I mean, I think Canada's played well in that regard. I
Yes.
mean, I think even if you look at the underlying, again, I'm going to go the underlying stats just to piss you off. But I mean, their underlying stats, again, they should have far more goals. And I mean, I think their expected goals against kind of checks out to what they've done.
Look,
But
underlying stats don't piss me off on their own. They piss me off when they're the only thing
yeah,
relied on, where it's like, this guy is better because this whatever percentage, and I'm just like, no, you got to both. And I got you. You incorporate the fancy stats into the watching the game, and they're great support tools. So
yeah.
I don't hate the underlying numbers on their own. I just hate when they're the only thing that's used to
Yeah.
support. Right.
So I think the defense kind of plays like I think it's that part might be sustainable. I mean, I'll be honest. Again, I've been hard on the selection that they've had, for since they made it, I guess like a month ago. They're still better at scoring goals than this. I mean, they should be able to score a bit more
Yes.
than this. So it's not it's a short tournament. So if it doesn't happen, then like it doesn't happen. Like that's kind of where you put yourself in, or the position you put yourself in. But I mean, I could see them again. They're going to play the U.S. here. If you watch the Finland game, that was a really wide open game. They were just not maybe. I wouldn't say the U.S. is the most defensively responsible team out there.
No, but Canada can't get sucked into playing a run and gun game against them, or they're going to get toasted.
Well, no, but I was kind of going the other route. I think Canada can also, if they play, the solid defense that they've been playing, they're going to get transition opportunities against them, where these other teams, I think, have kind of sat back on them. They haven't really, pushed the play on them. Whereas the U.S. is going to try and push the play on them, and they're going to get some transition opportunities. So I think you might see at least not a lot more, but maybe some more prime opportunities that Canada hasn't been getting maybe in the previous games.
I hope so. But it's not even for me. It's not even necessarily that they're not getting. Now, I do have an issue with their lack of pushing the play to the middle and forcing their way into high danger areas. But they are getting chances despite that, and they are passing the puck well, and they are getting shots on goal, and they are getting shots off the rush. So they're doing things that in time should or will translate to goals. I just think that, ideally you have a couple more finishers who can score better than the percentages would indicate, right? And they're going to have to really, like, the thing with the United States is now that Schaefer's out, we have one X factor player. It's McKenna, right? And the United States probably has 5 or 6 guys who can be an X factor type player, where any given game against any opponent, any given shift, something can happen with these guys, right? Hudson can do it. Buem can do it to a pretty good extent at this level. Iserman, Connolly, and then all 3 guys on that top line can do it, right? So that's 5 forwards and 2 defensemen who can break a game open when you need a goal. And we're relying on McKenna to do it. And crazy Dickinson probably would be our second. and he's not even an offensive defenseman really deep down.
No, but I don't even think they're really relying on Dickinson to be an offensive,
That's
their
kind of what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I think there's some forwards that they've expected more out of, but I mean, I don't know.
Richie's got the skill, though. He's got the individual skill to do it, but he chooses when to do it.
We're also playing our best offensive player 12 minutes, whereas like it's I don't know. They have to get McKenna more ice time. Like they really
Who's our
do.
best offensive player? I thought it was Nato because he's getting 21 minutes a night.
Well,
it must be him, right? Because he's getting the minutes, so he must be the best guy.
Well, I guess that's kind of the confusion again we've had, whereas, but again, McKenna's the youngest guy in the team, but I mean, they're struggling to score goals. And again, I've complained about the power play. I'm happy they switched things up on the power play, but we're still not seeing McKenna on the first power play, which is, which I mean, if you're going to bring him onto again, you brought him on the team to be an offensive player.
So against Germany,
yeah,
Gavin McKenna, 1207. Okay, here's all the players, all the forwards who got more ice than him. I know I'm going through because it's a fucking joke. Callum Ritchie, 1648. Easton Cowan, 1520. Nato, 1802. Yager, 1749. Tanner Howe, 1304. Berkeley Catton, 1352. Luchenko, 1331. And Ethan Gauthier, 1241. And these guys are all getting more fucking ice than Gavin McKenna when we can't score a goddamn goal to save our lives. Explain that.
I have nothing for you. I mean, he needs to be on the ice more. Like I don't have anything else to say other than maybe their PK because they do take penalties, so maybe that's part of it.
Like I feel like when Jeremy Roenick got high sticked for 50 whatever stitches and he's telling NHL, wake up, like guys, wake up, play this guy. He's your best forward. He's the only guy that can go out there and maybe turn the tides of this on his own with some kind of supreme play. And it's not to take away from some of the other guys. Like Catton's a skilled player, Cowan's a skilled player. These guys are all skilled players, but not one of those guys has X factor ability the way Gavin McKenna does, and the way that some of the top American players do. And that's what I'm concerned about, because now we're playing the game of a defensively sound, structured team versus a guys who are high flying and could beat the wheels off you if they get one small little break.
Yeah,
and that's not an easy feeling position to be in, I don't think.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at the power play ice time here. So they just, for the most part, have just been running the number one unit that they had last game. So that's, again, Bonk, Catton, Ritchie, Cowan, and Dickinson. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I would almost replace Catton on that unit, maybe. I don't know. Like McKenna needs to be, like, they played 4 minutes of power play time and McKenna has it on the ice. Like, McKenna shouldn't be on the first power play. He's their most dangerous player.
I would take any of those three forwards off.
You take the look off the power play there. But I mean, again, my whole point was that he shouldn't be on point. The whole point, he shouldn't have been playing point. Whatever. Like, I need to win. I need to take the battles that I can win here, apparently.
Wherever the fuck McKenna plays in the WHL on the power play, that's the exact spot you stick him in on this team.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. Boom. There you go. Go do it. Go do your thing, man. Like, but we're not doing that. We're not giving him that chance, and it's frustrating because, especially when we're talking about, oh yeah, we're doing the right things and we're not scoring. Well, we're not doing the right things because our most dangerous player is sitting on the bench.
Yeah. So how are we feeling going into tomorrow?
Either way, the fans aren't getting their money's worth because they either are going to watch Canada lose an exciting game or they're going to watch them win a boring one.
Okay. Do you think, maybe not us, but do you think a lot of the kind of the loudness would go away if Canada kind of wins that game? Do you think that would go a long way to kind of, because you're hearing a lot of people being upset with the team right now.
It only goes away when they score at least 4. preferably 5. Like I want 3 slices of pizza amount of goals in order to have some confidence. And they have to be real goals. Like that second goal yesterday doesn't count. That's a fluke bounce off the boards. Third goal is an empty net. First one, great play on the power play. Not great. I'll take 4 more of those, please. But
Yeah.
I think the only way they win is on the back of Carter George. And when you win only because your goalie is playing out of his mind, you're happy because you won and the goalie's part of the team, and that's hockey, and that's just how it is. But that doesn't inspire confidence going into the next game because you're still faced with the same set of problems. You haven't fixed anything. You're just getting bailed out by a guy who knows he has to step up.
Yeah. Well, what are some advantages do you think Team Canada has here in this game, other than the goaltending?
The home crowd.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
it.
meant more on the ice, but yeah, I guess the home crowd. But the problem is the home crowd right now isn't exactly.
They're going to get up for the game against the Americans.
They aren't boisterous at the moment. They're kind of. It's that nervous energy, right? It's the nervous energy.
It's New Year's Eve against the Americans. If you don't think the CTC crowd is going to be blowing the fucking roof off that building just before the game, at least before the game and as the game starts. Now, if they get scored on early, or they get hemmed in early, or they get suppressed, or like they have to match the crowd's energy and come out with a hot start, and the crowd will get behind them, and that'll help a lot. But if the crowd gets quiet early in the game, it could be a really long night there.
I think it's imperative they score first.
But I think that's the only on ice advantage they have is in between the pipes. I think their forwards are badly outmatched, and I think their defense is at best even.
I think Canada has better like in zone defenders than the US has. I mean, the US has far more skill.
But that's why they'd be at best even.
Yeah, I think the US has far more offensive ability, maybe on that end, some higher end skating, maybe on that end. But I mean, the Canadian defense, I will say this, Canadian defense does have some big guys out there. They're not easy to play against. They can,
they defend well.
They do defend well. So, I think that's an advantage to them, especially against this US team. It is kind of imperative, this is a team you have to defend professionally here. This is going to be like a professional type game for these players, or at least those defenders. They're going to have to, these guys are going to keep coming at them, and they're going to have to, be a professional hockey player here, show that they can be a professional hockey player here.
I see a long night of trying to defend wave after wave of American attack and getting your shots on goal off the counterattack.
Yeah, but I think that, again, I'm not sure what they're going to, what exactly they're going to employ, but I mean, there is opportunities against this team on transition. I mean,
now at least the only thing I will say is at least Canada's disadvantage in the size department goes away against the Americans, because the Americans they're small too.
Yeah, this isn't a big team either. So, and again,
but like, why are we getting sucked into playing their small skill game? Seriously.
It's a different question, but here, I'm just going to give you a little stat here, maybe the difference between the two teams right now. So in this tournament, looking at offensive slot passes. So again, I'm using a fancy stat here. Like per game, Canada has 14.4, whereas the US has 24.1.
Like high danger chances?
Like, well, slot passes, like they're in the slot.
Yeah.
And so I kind of placed the fact that Canada's really not getting to the middle of the ice as much.
No, because they're soft, dude.
Well, I'm not going to call them soft. Now,
I am.
I think okay. Well, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to say is, again, the teams they've played have really played back. Okay. They've really tried to clog things up against them. So they're clogging up the neutral zone and they're clogging up the offensive zone. I'm not sure the US is going to be as willing to do that, because I think they want to push offense.
Okay, well, maybe soft wasn't the right word, but maybe not strong. They're not strong enough to get to the middle.
No, they don't have the guys to play there. Okay, fine. If we don't have to go there, but yes, they didn't pick guys.
They're not strong.
They didn't pick guys to do that, but nonetheless. So I think there's going to be more opportunities available to them this game. So I think they do have a chance to win this game. Yes, they do. and they have a chance to win this tournament. And if they win this game, they win their pool. They're still number one. They'll probably, I assume, be the 2 seed though per the tournament here anyway, when they reseed, I guess, after the quarterfinal, I think. But I mean,
yeah, like I think their biggest chance against the Americans too is because there's the strengths of their team aren't the same.
no,
If they tried to play the same style of game, they'd get piss pumped. But because they're playing a more defensive style, and hey, maybe they beat the Americans and Hockey Canada all looks like goddamn geniuses because they picked a team that could play that could kind of smother that wide open attacking style. And maybe if maybe that's what happens, and that would be great. And then Hockey Canada can tell us, every single one of us, to shove it, and we have nothing back to say if they win tomorrow handily and they come out with a gold medal, right? Because of the way that they play stylistically. That said, it just makes for a long night when you're the defensive team trying to shut down a high-powered attack, because it's relentless and it's exhausting, and you're banking on your good defense to lead you to a random 3-on-2 or random 2-on-1, or score your goals on the power play and get those 1 or 2. It just makes for a stressful night.
It's the margin for error thing we talked about again, right? Like, it's just not like, I feel like with the team they chose, they made the margin for error a lot harder on themselves. That was the point we made before, the point we made the last episode, because that's just, and again, with this game, as you just said, you can't really match up with them offense for offense here. Like, you're gonna have to play a more defensive style to beat this team. But again, that is what their coach is comfortable doing. That is kind of what he's always done. That's always kind of what, yeah. That's always the kind of hockey Dave Cameron's kind of done in the OHL. So I mean,
and it can work when it's executed properly. Just the biggest thing that scares me is the fluke plays that can happen, A, in short tournaments, and B, in junior hockey in general. There's always little mistakes that lead to more fluke chances and random bouncing pucks that you would see in pro. And something could look completely handled, and then all of a sudden one guy holds his stick the wrong way and something opens up, and that's junior hockey, right? Like, and those things can happen. So it's tough to bank on being able to shut it down like that for 60 minutes for 7 games in a row.
Yeah. So
but they can do it. They could.
They can do it. Like, again, and if they win this game, they're in a decent spot here. You know,
they're in a great spot if they win.
Yeah. So I mean, but if they lose and they lose in regulation, they finish third in their pool, and then things get a lot more difficult because they're playing Sweden or or Czechia in the quarterfinal, and then that's a really tough game. They're gonna have to do 3 really tough games to win the tournament.
I think their quarterfinal game might be tough no matter who they play, the way they're playing.
Well, again, if they finish first in the pool, they would finish, 4th, or they would take 4th in the other pool. I think that would be
Switzerland, probably.
Yeah, they would be happy in that matchup. As I said, that Kazakhstan just tied Slovakia right now. It's 4-4 with 30 seconds left in the game. So,
I should have gone.
So just, I mean, I feel like whoever Canada will be playing, if they win their group, they would be. I mean, I think they would be well favored in that game. I think in that game.
Tie. That's not good for Slovakia.
Well, they have 27 seconds left, but it looks like it's going to go to overtime anyway.
That's not a good look for the Slovak program.
No, it's not. But again, not a good year for them. Anyway,
it's a weaker age group for them, and it's been that way through through the Holinka U18s, like back. This age group is not the strongest out of Slovakia for sure.
So again, I think you could settle a lot of things here. Canada wins the group. I think they're in good position at that point. In my opinion, I think they're gonna start scoring a few more goals. I don't think, again, I'm ever expecting them to score 7 in any of these games. I do expect them to score more than 1 legitimate goal in a game. I think they're better than that. But we'll see. I mean, this should be a fun game to watch. And again, speaking of draft eligible guys, we'll be interested to see what Hagens again looks like, against, as we said, a very big, I would say a very quality defense, kind of maybe even a pro style defense that he would be playing in this game. Yeah. Now I still have to watch him individually with his Finland game, but I mean the first 2 games of the tournament he looked pretty good. So those next 2 will be interesting to see what we see on the back on the video with him.
He's about as skilled as they get, man. Holy geez, he's slick. The things he can do at top speed are just so impressive. That's the biggest part for him, and that's where he separates himself from being a very, very good prospect to like an elite tier, extremely high end prospect. Is the things he can do. That's what makes McDavid so good, right? He can do everything. Like he can do everything at full speed. And I'm not saying Higgins is McDavid.
Not a lot of guys can do everything at full speed, though. Like even guys
Higgins
can't do it. Yeah.
No, but Higgins can, and that's what makes him so dangerous all the time.
Yeah. Now they didn't play great yesterday, though. I will say, just again from watching the game. So I mean, again, I'll just be interested to looking back on just the looking at him more individually and seeing what that game looked like for him.
Yeah, I think my pre-tournament prediction on Hensler's not looking too bright. I think he's had a pretty good tournament here.
No, he's solid. He's a good defenseman.
Yeah, he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. I don't know if he's ever going to be the offensive guy that all these people want him to be, but I mean, I think that's why he frustrates people because he's just not
Hannafin.
Yeah, you think he should do more.
Hannafin.
Yeah. Jay Bowmeister, man.
Dude, good players though, but underrated by fans, I think, because they don't put up more than 35, 40 points a year.
Yeah. Him and Hudson have been really good.
Hudson's something else.
That's a really good that pair's really worked actually.
It's been fantastic. Really well.
And I think
they've been almost more effective than Buum and Fortescue have.
I think they have actually. Now I don't know if again, maybe they're not playing similar. I guess like they've only the U.S. played like Latvia and Germany, so I mean, yeah, I guess they have. Like it's not like they've been playing a higher end line or something like that. Really, like it's So I'd say you're right. But what's good about them, or at least at Hensler, is you're seeing kind of what he would be at the NHL level, what type of guy I think he would work best with.
He plays with your best player.
Well, he can play with that really slick offensive defenseman maybe, and he can be the guy that's kind of covering for him and his skating's so good that he has that coverage really.
Well, and I think the biggest thing with that is that because his skating's so good, not only is that going to make him a perfect guy to play with the most skilled offensive defenseman on any given team, it's going to make that offensive defenseman better because they're going to have the confidence to know that, you know what, I can buzz around and I got this guy who's 6'2" who can skate better than anyone on the ice, and he's got me, and that allows a little more creative freedom for those highly skilled cerebral players to go out and do their thing.
Well, I think the other part with him too,
remember how much better Erik Karlsson was as soon as Mark Methot.
He's better than Mark Methot, I think, is kind of what I'm getting. And I love Mark Methot, right?
Methot was a big guy who could skate really well and who let Karlsson have the confidence to say, "Okay, I'm good. You got this." And he did that job perfectly for so many years.
Mark Methot did everything simple really well. Like he could, he can
be maybe just a little bit more version of that.
Maybe a little. He's more skilled, maybe less physical than Methot.
But way less physical. Yeah, Methot was it.
But he is being physical this tournament, which again is nice to see with him because that was something we've talked about before. That he didn't. He was kind of struggling maybe a little with the physicality of the college level to start the year.
Yeah, I didn't see much physical element to his game at all the first few games of the season.
Yeah, so I mean that's good to see that at this level he's willing to be physical.
He's playing his peers now, right? Again.
Yeah, he is. So that's good to see. Like that's really happy to see that. That's what we wanted to see. But yeah, I think he has that insulator ability, but he's also an insulator that, for instance, could move the puck, or you're not worried about him breaking out the puck. Like he doesn't have to totally, give. You see, Methot, like he was always going to give the puck to Karlsson. Like Karlsson was always going to make the decisions, right? Like he can.
Fine, dude.
He'd move the puck fine, but you want Erik making most of the decisions, right? Like that's kind of what they that was their whole offense is almost based.
I don't know if you want Eric making most of the decisions, but you want Eric to carry the puck.
Yeah.
Not sure about
the point is I think you can utilize Hensler in an insulator role, but he can actually bring kind of that elite skating and, you know, puck moving ability to the table as well. And so I think again, just thinking of a prospect, like I'm pretty bullish on him, because I think, especially if you're a team maybe in the top 10 and you think you have that offensive dynamo guy, or maybe you already have that, you know, that guy in your, you know, in your prospect pool, like he would be a good fit.
Yeah.
Like,
I completely agree. But he's a guy I think he could fit. Dude, 32 teams could use that guy in their organization. He's going to be a very, very versatile player. And it's like you said, he's got more skill than just being a complimentary guy. I think in the NHL, when he gets there, if you need a guy on your second power play, or you need a guy who's on your second power play to step up and play your first for a little bit and manage the puck enough to not kill the flow of the power play, I think he could be that guy. And you could probably plug him and play him into about any situation, because his size, skating, and puck and simple puck skills are so excellent.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the most creative with the puck, but he has high-end simple puck skills, if that makes sense.
And again, maybe the offensive puck skills come. I mean, he's young, so you never know.
Yeah, it's not a lack of ability. I just don't think it's his game.
Yeah. No, it's not. So anyway, you went to the Czechia game yesterday.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. It was good. Now, we were sitting, our seats for that one, we were 4 rows up. We're in row D, down inside one of the blue lines. So a good chunk of the other end of the ice was kind of tough to see in the corners and stuff, but you get a really good vibe for their play in the zone that's right in front of your face when you're sitting that close. So that was kind of cool. I know usually if I'm scouting, I'm sitting more bird's eye view, the top of the 100s or the bottom of the second bowl sort of thing. And that's where I prefer to scout from. But you do miss some things by not sitting so close that you do get to see. Radovojevic, man, he gives me headaches because he played well. He fucking played well again, the little prick. And defended well. He battled hard, and he's a damn good skater. He does have some dynamic ability. I still don't know how elite it is, and I don't have any time for him in the first round. But I think he's a guy that probably, even at 5'10", will find his way into my top 100.
Oh, you like him more every game you watch him.
Well, I mean, yeah, I like him. Like, I think I'm more so recognizing that the higher end ability he has, because if there's a couple areas of his game, you know, his skating is very, very good, but it's not elite. But if it becomes a half step better, maybe all of a sudden, like, there's some upside here with the guy. Okay. And that's what I'm recognizing. And there is going to be a point in the draft where I'm comfortable taking a shot on a guy like that. And usually for me, that would probably come around either the 3rd or 4th round, depending on the strength of the draft and depending who else is available. It could come to the pick where there's if there's a bigger guy that I really like, I'll be bumping the smaller guy down to the next pick, sort of thing. But I've got time for the guy in the middle of the draft. I'm not buying this first round shit that I've been reading out there. I do think he's too small and not quite dynamic enough to warrant that sort of thing. Cole Hudson was a 2nd rounder, okay, and this guy is not Cole Hudson. Yeah. So that said, he did play well again. Paul Bazal had a good game. Really smart player. They plug him in pretty much any situation, and he succeeds. I still am not sure what he does that's elite, but he is very good at pretty much everything. And sometimes being very good is good enough, but sometimes that makes you a bit of a tweener. The other guy, the bigger guy, Kovan, very similar game. He didn't stand out as much as he did the first 2 games. He didn't get quite as many looks as he did the first couple games. A little quieter, but still good. Still a big body. Gets in the forecheck hard. The Czech guy was good. I like.
Sahar.
Yeah, Sahar. He was good. Very physical. Not afraid to get in the corners. Very physical. He took a 5-minute major for boarding. Very physical. So, but you like that. Not the boarding penalty, but the physicality. The boarding penalty wasn't even almost his fault. He was chasing a guy around the net, same story, and the guy hit the brakes and turned his numbers to him. And he got the worst of it. So, but that's a 5-minute penalty. But he was hard on the forecheck. He's got some good puck skill. Played pretty well, given that he's an underager in this tournament. He obviously didn't stand out the same way that a Schaefer or Hagens are going to, but he certainly looked like a good player. I think Central Scouting, they have him as a B, which I actually think is probably an appropriate ranking for him. He looked like, to me, and again, one viewing, I could have caught him at his best. I could have caught him at his worst. Usually if I see a guy for the first time, my baseline assumption is this is their average game. This is their baseline game. So without having seen him more than that, just yesterday, I would have said he played like probably a second or third rounder, which is a good player, good size, good tools, willing to battle, physical. There's some things to like there that will translate. Obviously, from just one game when I'm sitting that close, chatting with my buddies half the time, not the best read on what his offensive abilities would be, but no, but he's an underager, at the World Juniors, so you're going to watch his club games to see what the offensive ability is there, but just in terms of the size, skating, and competitiveness, I like the package. I mean, he's for sure a pick. But yeah, I liked his game. I like what he brought. I thought he's probably the best of the four compared to him versus the three Slovakians. I'd say he's got some of the things that I like from the two Slovakian forwards combined. I think he's got a little bit more offense than maybe Kovan does, and better size and physicality than Pobazal does. That said, like the Pobazal guy, he's a guy that smart players, good hockey sense players, I find take a little bit of time sometimes to grow on you, and you find you like them more and more each viewing. And Pobazal, for me, I've saw Slovakia 3 times, and I felt he was better each game, and that could be he was playing better. That could just be I was a little more in tune to him and more aware of what his game was and what to look for. But yeah, it was nice. They're all four of them. All four of them, I'd say, would be between late second and early fifth for me.
Yeah,
but good players.
That's good. We've glad we've tracked them. It's nice that I've kind of looked at the video side of them. You've seen them live, so it's kind of interesting to see how you feel they are, and what I've seen as well. So it's
I didn't get to see the Canada game in person, but I like the German guy Lewandowski.
Yeah, he's got some offensive skill.
Handel too played well in spurts. He got in other spurts not as much, but there's some tools there with him.
That's kind of what I've seen from him, though, right? Like he's got some, there's some elite kind of skills that he has, but it's just kind of a lot of inconsistency in his game.
I don't know if there's elite skills, but there's some very good skills.
There's higher end skills, I guess. And it's not maybe elite, but there's higher end stuff that people.
Yeah, he skates well and he moves the puck very well.
Yeah.
But he's prone, I find, to carelessness.
Yeah.
Which gives you pause for concern. But the Lewandowski guy, I think he's a better skater than people give him credit for. I was told, when I say I was told, I don't have like some pile of scouts that feed me information. I just go on what I'm reading online for the most part. So I was told that he can't skate at all, but I think he moves fine for a bigger guy. He's not going to win. He's not going to win the fastest skater contest, but he's not a log out there.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we'll get a chance to hopefully see them one more time here. Do they have to play Latvia still? I believe so.
Yeah, they got one more game.
Yeah, and then that'll be actually be a big game there.
I might be today.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess the last kind of thing we might want to talk about is, want to talk about Porter Marteau and how he's not playing now.
Okay, now we can criticize the player, we can criticize the coaching staff. So is he out because he's been no good, or should he be in the lineup?
Well, you can go whatever direction you want with that.
I think both. I think our team is small and weak, and he should be in the lineup because of that. But I think he played his way out of the lineup at the same time.
Yeah.
He's not. He's now. The thing I will say is you see, not all the time, but it's not uncommon to see someone who is a really high draft or is going to be a really high draft pick, who is supposed to be the next thing or whatever, that's invisible in their draft year at the World Juniors. Okay. Like it is a 19-year-old tournament primarily. And I know he's a late birthday, so he's a little bit older. Like he's
still underage. He's still 18.
An underage player. So he's not, he shouldn't be expected to dominate the tournament. And I think the disappointment on him, the quote unquote disappointment on his tournament, needs to be given a little bit of consideration because he is a this is not supposed to be his moment to shine. His moment to shine is making the team as a draft eligible, right? That's the impressive part for Team Canada, usually anyways. Maybe not on this team, but usually that's impressive to make the team as a draft eligible.
Yeah.
But that said, he's not been great, and his weaknesses have been compounded, I think, playing against more skilled players here.
Yeah. So that's, again, I worry about taking him out of the lineup because, again, I think the lack of size is going to bite them at some point. And I've said this multiple times that they actually need a guy like him in the lineup,
Yes.
just on the hope that he has one of these physically dominating games, against a team maybe like the United States, who are smaller and probably don't have the guys that contain him. If he does have one of those games. But the problem is that he has been, I don't even want to say he's been invisible. He's been a step slow, Rocco. Like he can't keep up with the play.
I know. I like to see a power play with him, Reckhoff, and McKenna.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like they're gonna do it. So
it would make too much fucking sense to do that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people are rightfully going to be, again, I think after this tournament, if he doesn't get back in the lineup anyway, he's gonna fall a little bit on draft boards, but I mean fall. Like he's
still in the top 10.
Oh, he's still in the top 5, I think. Like I just think he's the bottom of that list. I think there's a tier above him now. I think right. Like
I think there's 3 guys now that he won't catch.
If you're probably right. I would have 4, but again, I'm in a bunker and no one cares what I have to think other than the people listening. So thank you for listening, guys. But I mean,
yeah, but like also I'll say this. I think no. Desnoyers, Martone, there's more of a conversation there than between Martone and Higgins, for example.
Yes. So to me, I would.
Although you like Desnoyers more than Higgins,
too, but I'm just saying, to me, there will be a top tier 4. He would be 5th right now, just in kind of off of his own. With you, it'll be a top 3. He'll probably be 4th, or like that'll be.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be 4th.
No.
Because I really like Desnoyers. I know I chirp you for having it higher than some guys. And I don't think he's going to go higher than Higgins.
He had another 3-point weekend, by the way.
No, I know. I don't think he's going higher than Higgins, and maybe that might make you look smart in 5 or 6 years if it pans out and you're right. But there's no way that I don't know. He's not going top 2.
No, I don't think he is, but
he's probably not going ahead of Misa.
I think the consensus you're going to see with a lot of the draft boards will be there'll be a top 3, and then Martone will be on the outside of that. I think that's probably what you'll see.
That's where mine has gone. Is there's now I think all 3. No, I don't. I think 2 of them are in the running for first overall. I don't think Misa's in the running for first overall. But I also don't know that. Just because he didn't get the big tournament, and there are some, whether they're right or not, I just don't think he's going to be in that conversation truly. Although, would it shock me if he's the best player from the class? Not really.
Again, I'll say this again. I think he's has the more center projection than
but at least right now, at least after the World
that. But again, he should be in this tournament. We've already talked about
that. Right, but he wasn't. So I think you're going to see everyone's list now is some combination of Schaefer and Hagen's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And I think now that Schaefer got hurt, it's going to be close to a 50-50 split. And then we'll see the rest of the year if someone else can enter that conversation. But for now, it looks like, I think, by most people's standards, a 2-horse race for first overall.
Just for reference on Hagen's regarding playing center, he's under 40% on faceoffs in this tournament. So, I mean,
he's also an underager, though.
He is also an underager. I agree. I'm just saying, hasn't alleviated any of the concerns I've had for that. That's all.
No, you can learn to take draws, though.
Can.
I think it's one of the skills that can be improved the most between junior and pros.
It can be improved. I just don't know if you're going to be a high 50s face-off guy if you weren't like a decent face-off.
No, you don't. No, but if he can get to become a guy that's 52 or 53% packaged with his offensive skills, that's going to be good enough. Yeah. He could also be a centerman that doesn't take the draw on his weak side, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of draw taking wingers, right, where they'll take the draw on their strong side and then flip back with the center.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, I like Misa's play as a centerman a little bit better. I think he's, there's more responsibility there. I think he plays all 3 zones a little bit better.
Is the high end quite as high, though?
What do you mean? Like I think it is. I think his playmaking's just as good or even better than Hagen's.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think we've seen that. And
I mean, we've seen it. Yes, I've seen it with you. We've been games where we've seen it.
Yeah. So I mean,
but we've seen it from Hagen's at a more elite level, at a higher level of competition than we've seen it from.
Well, we saw it against. We saw it against Latvia and Germany. So let's see it against Canada. Because against Canada, then yes. Let's just hold our horses with that, because we didn't really see it yesterday.
Not as much.
No, not as much.
Good. He was still good.
Yeah.
But it's a big matchup coming up here for Team Canada. And it's nice to have the New Year's Eve Classic back. It's been a few years since we've had that. And I think that was a staple of the World Juniors for so long, for so many years. And it's just Canada, USA, New Year's Eve game. Like, there's been so many big moments in those games over the years. Like, there's so many games I can close my eyes and picture where I still was on those New Year's, ignoring whatever party or bar I was working at, to try and catch a bit of the Canada USA New Year's games. And I mean, no love lost between these two countries. And I think even a couple teams on the smaller side are going to get up for the battle and the physicality of this game. And it's win or lose, it's always a treat watching these two teams play on New Year's Eve.
God, what would really get the building going? A big hit on the first shift. Like, wouldn't that be nice?
If only we had a line that would hit.
Sorry for we haven't seen that yet. That used to be that was what would get the building going. It's the first shift.
Who are you going to put out there to deliver a big hit? Other than the third defensive pair.
I don't know.
Seriously.
I don't.
Who's fucking hitting a guy on these forwards?
Bill Zonin.
Bill. If you gave Bill Zonin one shift, the opening shift of that game against the Americans, Bill Zonin would have the Chris Neil effect. Remember when Chris Neil came in and he goes, "I just came to tell him his fun's done," and came out for 2 shifts, beat the snot out of a guy, and then the Sens couldn't lose against the Rangers.
Yeah, that's exactly the guy they're missing.
So that's what I'm saying. So Bill Zonin could come in at the CTC, and maybe we'll even give him number 25 and have the Chris Neil effect. And I think that's what they need. They need a guy that can come in and hey, we're still Canada, and we're still gonna shove it down your throats, and we're still going to beat the piss out of you. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to do it with a bunch of bruises and sore muscles and sore bones, and you're going to have to block pucks, and you're going to have to fight us, and you're going to have to take punches from us in the scrum, and that's what you're going to have to do if you want to win. And that used to be the only way that teams could beat us. And now we don't have not one forward who will go and do that.
Well, I'm going to say this.
Bodway might, maybe, but that's it.
I'm going to say this. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy their team next year.
No, because we could have enjoyed it this year, dude, if they picked a proper fucking team. So, I have no faith. I have no faith that they're going to pick the right team next year either. Because they didn't pick the right team last year. And it doesn't and this tournament's far from over, but it doesn't look like they picked their best team this year either. Yeah. So, am I expecting to see Bill Zonin? No, because he's exactly what Hockey Canada doesn't want right now, which is a big, tough, strong, competitive hockey player. We don't have any of those right now.
That plays the wing, and he's just terrible. Like the other team cannot play against him, and he can play center. He's versatile.
Dude, he would go and beat up Americans for fun, I think, in that game tomorrow night. He'd be like, boys, I got, and then he would make a sick pass or blast a one-timer, because he's actually sneaky good offensively. People don't talk about that enough with Zonin. But
I know it's an inside joke. He probably not a guy that should have been on the team this year, but they're missing that type of guy. That is,
no, he was not a realistic candidate for the team this year. He's just a guy that we love the way he's a throwback, dude. The way he plays, it's how do you not love this guy? I know you do, but how would anyone not love him is what I mean. But he is what that type of player is what we're missing. And again, Beaudoin can do that to an extent, but we I don't get it, dude. I don't get it what they're doing. But that's not, again, all these gripes that we have, I don't want to be misconstrued and have it directed at the players, because, again, we've said this before, any one of these players on an individual basis deserves to be on this team. And I have time for smaller players on the team, but it's you can't have a team full of any of the same type of player. And we do, and there's some elements that we're missing, and Wild Bill would fill at least one of them for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll watch this. We'll watch the U.S.-Canada game tomorrow, and we'll probably come back with maybe a little reaction after that game.
Absolutely,
positive or negative. We'll see.
Yeah, New Year's Day reflection pod.
We'll see where the blood pressure's at that point.
Oh, we might have to have our depending how that game goes. We might have to have our New Year's resolutions for Hockey Canada episode.
I hope they win. But
of course I hope they win. I don't want the fucking Americans to win, dude. No, can't have that. Not at home. Not on New Year's Eve. But my heart's with Canada, but my wallet's on the Americans, probably, honestly.
Well, I'd have to see what we'd have to see.
I think we've got. I think
the line is in that game, but yeah.
Oh, I don't want to talk gambling here. No, but we said before, I think Canada's biggest advantage is between the pipes, and as we know in hockey, the goaltending can always be the great equalizer. So, no pressure, Carter, but we need you, buddy. We need you real bad.
Keep putting the pressure on him. He plays better.
Actually, he does. Honestly, he's a real deal, man. I think we're looking at a future NHL goalie for sure.
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign. We don't produce many of them these days, it doesn't seem, but I think he reminds me, like, Hofer came in and played like that when they needed a goalie to step up.
Yeah.
And he said he was really calm, and no one really knew who he was before the tournament, but he came in and he really had a calming effect on that version of Team Canada. And I see Carter George bringing a lot of those same traits. And in a short tournament, again, that's a really, even more than, like, I think in a short tournament or a one playoff series, the calmness and zen of a goalie matters a lot more than it does necessarily over the course of an 82 game season with ups and downs. When these guys who are so like they're cool as cucumbers, and you can see when a goalie's playing well because it looks like he's not moving in the net hardly at all, right?
Yeah,
it's just little boom, okay, no problem. You're gonna pass over here, no problem, and they're hardly moving in there. And that's when I think they're really zoned in, almost like when the race car drivers get the tunnel vision. They're going so fast they see nothing at all but the road. I think Carter George is in that.
It's simple hockey, right? When you're playing well, the game's simple. It looks simple.
He's in that zone where he's completely hyper focused on the puck, and just no one talk to him in the room. Just leave him alone and let him do it. No, let him do his thing, because he's in one right now, and we need him to stay there.
Well, it's also a team that's kind of in need of some confidence, right, or some positive vibes. I mean,
a goalie can do that for you.
Well, it is helpful when you're
not scoring. A goalie can keep the crowd in it.
Well, the goalie's going to give you a chance to win, right? Doesn't matter who you're playing.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for any hockey team when when you're playing that even if you give up a goal early, your goalie's going to keep it close, or if you score 1 or 2 goals, like that might be enough to win because your goalie's just playing that well, and that you have that much confidence in him, the way he's way he looks out there. So, I mean, that is going to help them.
I completely agree, and there's one advantage that we can definitely say Canada's been excellent in this tournament is in between the pipes, and we can't necessarily say that about the Americans, and perhaps that makes a difference. Boyce, we're going to wrap this up here, and let's finish this with a prediction. What's your prediction for? Okay, let's give 2 predictions here, because we got 2. Both groups have first place on the line. So we have 5 o'clock tomorrow. Czechia versus Sweden. Who you got? What's the final score?
I'm going to give the Czechs the win in that game, and I think it's going to be 4-2.
4-2 for the Czechs. Okay, I'm gonna go the other way. Actually, I'm gonna say we're gonna see 5-4 Sweden in overtime.
And my reason for that is I think Czechia has the better goaltending, but
they do. That's why I needed Sweden to get 5 goals to justify giving them the win. Because Harabel's been excellent in this tournament.
Really good prospect.
Okay, so you got Czechs. You got Czechs 4-2 over Sweden. I got the Swedes 5-4 over the Czechs. On to Canada, USA. What do you think?
You go first.
I'm going to stick to my guns here. Carter George, 1-0 Canada.
Oh, man. All right. I hate though. I don't want to be that guy. No, 3-0 Canada. I think he's going to get a shutout too.
3-0. You think we're going to score 3 fucking goals?
2 empty netters.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we got 1-0 for me after we spend 3 episodes in a row ripping Team Canada apart. We both pick them to beat the Americans on New Year's Eve. Can you tell we're Canadian? I got Canada 1-0. Boyce got Canada 3-0 over the Americans. Let us know what you think.
2 empty netters.
With 2 empty netters. Let us know what you think in the comments. We're obviously homers here after we just ripped our team up and down and then picked them to win. That's only Canadian hockey fans would do that, but that's great. Thanks for sticking around, everyone, and we'll catch you guys in a couple days. Go Canada, go!
All right, we'll see you later.